Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello MJ traders, been a while since we've checked in. We're going to be looking at some of the longer term time frames. We are getting closer and closer to the election. We've got about 25 trading days or so until the election and things to expect. So I put out a video fairly recently, a few weeks ago, looking at the bigger picture, looking at the possible outcomes of the votes, looking at the states that are set up to vote on both recreational and medical. So a lot of people are hoping New Jersey goes legal, so it adds to a potential domino effect where Pennsylvania, which has a whole bunch of population, could go legal. Then we look at New York with a big population, pretty much the Northeast, trying to see that whole little corner of the country go legal. So that's something we're going to be watching. What's most important for me is, of course, who's going to be elected president and who is going to control the Senate. And the only thing I care about, I don't care about anybody's personal opinion. I care about betting sites because that is where people are actually putting their money where their mouth is in terms of utilizing all available information and determining probabilities off of that. Could they be wrong? Absolutely. In 2016, they were wrong. But again, that is the best information that we and the market has as far as what is the most likely scenario. So again, we want to see, if you are an MJ bull, you want to see a Democrat House and Senate. And that is because we are currently in an environment where the Republican Senate is essentially stonewalling anything to do with MJ from getting passed. We know it's going to pass the House Democrat, the Democrat-led House. We know it's going to die in the Senate thanks to Mitch McConnell. That's the way it's been for the last 4 years, and it has not been a favorable environment for the Safe Banking Act or anything else that can help progress this space on a broad scale level. It's still just individual states doing their own thing at this point. So I would say worst case scenario, Trump gets reelected and the Republicans maintain control of the Senate, because that just means 4 more years of what we are already seeing. Now, that doesn't mean that the sector is going to dump. Maybe it has an initial bearish reaction, but these businesses that are already established and are doing well in their financials will continue to do so. It's not game over or anything like that. If we want to see best case scenario, in my opinion, for the USMJ space, again, I don't care what your political opinions are. You shouldn't care what mine are. You should care about what the reactions would be in the market. So if we're looking at the USMJ space, if Biden were to win and if the Democrats were to get control of the House and the Senate, it would then shift to a pretty darn favorable environment, political environment for the MJ space. And we would expect a lot of progress over the next 4 years as far as, federally rescheduling from Schedule 1, probability of legalized medical federally, some big changes. So that's what we're going to be watching for. Tonight's the debate, and that's going to see probably this biggest shift in probabilities of whether Trump or Biden is going to win that we've seen in the last month plus. So tonight's a fairly big night as far as a shift in probabilities is concerned. So that's what we're going to continue to be watching. The environment that we've been seeing since then, again, the way that I see it playing out is the USMJ space ran up hard into their earnings. They sold off in response to their earnings. That was not surprising. It led to a couple weeks of consolidation, but that couple weeks of consolidation then led right into a month of S&P 500 consolidation, which led to a bigger pullback in those MSOs. So we are still looking for monthly higher lows all over the place. The move from the low of the COVID dump to the high of the COVID bounce was overextended and massive. So if we can see monthly higher lows established and then continuation, perhaps on some kind of bullish catalyst reaction to the election, that would be best case scenario, because if that takes place, we then have monthly, weekly, and daily confirmed uptrends. And if you remember the Canadian MJ space, those were happy times. Right now, Canadian MJ is in monthly, weekly, and daily downtrends. It is a completely different environment, and we are watching monthly higher lows. And we are absolutely correlated to the S&P 500. S&P 500 bounced from the low to start March. We topped out in September, and we've been consolidating, looking for a monthly higher low with tons of space for it to form on this pullback. The weekly time frame for the S&P 500, I'm expecting a weekly lower high as the most likely scenario on this bounce. We could confirm a weekly downtrend, which would mean further monthly consolidation is coming. That's worth paying attention to as well. So not only are we watching the results for the USMJ sector, but we're watching the results and the impact it's going to have on the S&P 500. Historically speaking, there's not a significant difference under Democrat or Republican presidents as far as the performance of the broader stock market. As far as short-term reactions, it is possible that the market would drop on a Biden win. And we've seen in the past with COVID that even the strongest names like Amazon, Tesla, Netflix, everybody that had all-time high recoveries, they dumped in the initial fear response. So if we see Biden win, markets dump, and USMJ dump a bit with those markets, I will personally be using that as an entry opportunity. And I believe that we would see some pretty solid bounces from that scenario. So again, we need to be paying attention to the broader market as well. MSOS, the ETF, it's a non-event as far as I'm concerned. There's not enough dollar volume. The big dollar volume days are $2 million traded. If you start giving me $2 million traded every single day, I'll start paying attention. But you have days in here where you're trading, $700,000 and it's just a non-event. So we're in a daily downtrend. We need to change that trend, but volume is what is missing because dollar volume shows us that there's big money interested. And right now it just looks like some retail traders playing around. It doesn't have my attention. There's not enough dollar volume. And the names that I'm about to cover, I'm leaving out a bunch of names. And everybody likes to say, well, what about Red, White, and Bloom? Or what about CXXI? Yes, they have potential to see gains. I don't like the dollar volume. I have no interest in trading names that have tiny dollar volume where myself and 5 buddies could significantly impact what those charts do because of that low volume. Because I know if myself and 5 buddies can do it, that someone else and their 5 buddies are doing it. So I don't like having that exposure. I need more dollar volume and liquidity for me to be interested. And those are in the major names, which is why that's what I'm focused on. As far as GWPH, I'm not interested in it because I personally have never felt comfortable trading it. I don't like the exposure to the biotech sector correlation. And that's just my opinion on that. So I'm going to cover the names that I want to cover. And that's going to start with IIPR, which is the lead USMJ bull. At this point in time, we have a weekly uptrend that's extremely strong, holding the weekly exponential supports. The consolidation we've seen in IIPR is less significant than the MSOs, and it's less significant than the S&P 500. So the bulls want to hold 115.43. That's the most important level for me. If we break 115 from here, it is technically a little double top and then a loss of the weekly uptrend. And we would then zoom out and look for the monthly consolidation that we are seeing in our MSOs and in the broader market that we're not seeing in IIPR just yet. We're about 10% away from the all-time high, a little bit more than that, 12%. But if we lose the weekly higher lows, we zoom out and look for a monthly higher low. As far as the daily time frame is concerned, there's plenty of space for a daily higher low to form compared to that 115 level. Just pretty much the only levels that I care about, 130.25 and 115 in the short term to see which of those levels is going to break first. GRWG, some significant volume. This is the monthly inside bar forming. The weekly time frame tightened up and did see a bull shift. We dropped down. The daily chart's getting a little bit less clear for me. I condense it down to the 2-day time frame and I view it as a high, low, lower high, lower low with no bear follow through. Pretty much a double top at 1740 and 1749. Still holding a higher low above 1311. And now the bulls are trying to make their way back up towards that 1740s double top. That's the most important resistance. The bull volume is not enough at this point that I would anticipate a break of that resistance on the initial test. If we were to see increasing bull volume tomorrow, then that puts that resistance level in play. But as far as the weekly time frame is concerned, bulls trying to get some more follow through, and definitely a name worth paying attention to. CNBC was all over pumping it, and there's a lot of dollar volume. Again, I need that dollar volume if I'm going to be looking to actively trade names, both swing trading and day trading, and GRWG is trading, $15+ million a day. That's significant. There's a lot of dollar volume there. So again, we're talking 9 times the MSO dollar volume, MSOS, as far as that ETF is concerned. So all about 1749 and the new short-term support, 1425. So onto the US MSOs, I have been building some positions in TCNNF and GTBIF. Those are the 2 names that I have chosen. They were stronger, technically speaking, That changed when we had some dilution news for TCNNF, but I was already scaling in at that point. So CURLF monthly consolidation. We are looking for a monthly higher low to form, and we're watching, can the bulls change the monthly trend with a higher low and higher high, which would have us looking right back to the all-time high if that were to play out. The weekly time frame, trying to get a bounce going. We will just be looking for a weekly lower high as the most likely scenario, unless we were to see some massive bull volume roll in on some massive media coverage, on some significant shifts in probabilities that would favor the USMJ space. If we do not have that significant probability shift and significant media coverage, we will be looking for a weekly lower high into the election to be the most likely scenario. We still have to get this bounce going with a daily trend change. And because these names are traded on the OTC, these candles can look confusing at times. It's not as clear as something on the NASDAQ or NYSE. So I always cross-reference what the Canadian ticker is doing. And I can see that we still have daily lower highs. Canadian resistance was 985, and we're still under that level. And if we're looking at the US side of things, I would need to see the bulls break 739 to start to shift momentum. If we reject from 739, it's just a lower high, and it's then up to the bulls to confirm a daily trend change into next week if we are going to be confident in these weekly support levels being set. Ever since the top of this run, which led to the sell-off on the earnings reactions, we have not seen the bulls do much, and we're watching for that shift in momentum. So TCNNF is my larger position out of the two. We've got a monthly inside bar, and it's a monthly inside bar not seeing consolidation yet because it was such a big green bull monthly candle to the new all-time highs before the consolidation started. Weekly time frame would have been ideal if we held the exponential support, and again, it was the dilution news that led to that drop below that level. Same thing though, we're looking for that lower high, and we can be looking at percentage moves as well. What percentage move did we pull back? If we want to compare individual names, how much did we pull back? And what percentage distance is required for a new higher high? For CURLF, we're looking at 37%. For TCNNF, we're looking at 41% needed. So again, without massive bull volume, I'm watching for a weekly lower high to be the result of this bounce due to the size of that pullback. I've just been scaling in. When things get extreme, I enter shorter term positions. So I have some mid-term positions where I think my average right now on TCNNF is about 1950. And when we got real extreme on this drop and we got on the verge of daily oversold, I then take short-term positions where I'm selling for, a little 4% bounce and just dropping the cost basis of my core position. So I'm keeping half of my capital that I have allocated to the USMJ space in cash until two things happen. Number one, FOMO, bull volume, FOMO, and media hype. Then I will more actively trade or just patiently continuing to build longer term positions. That being said, as we head towards the election, I probably am going to keep half positions and half capital cash heading into the election if things are as close and unsure as they currently are. And then I would use that half capital if we were to see the market sell off on a Biden win and USMJ initially drop with that. There's all different kinds of ways that this can play out. So I want to stay agile with my ability to have capital to maneuver around. So for TCNNF, we're just looking for a daily lower high to top out on this bounce. It's been a nice bounce. It almost looked like some insider buying was marked the bottom on September 25th. So we're looking to top out. Anything under 2092 is a lower high. And again, just like Curaleaf, we need to confirm a daily trend change into next week for a convincing shift and for this weekly bull move to get some follow through, because the bulls have struggled for a bounce on the weekly time frame over the past couple months. GTBIF, so monthly consolidation underway, looking for that higher low. Weekly consolidation, fairly significant, but percentage-wise, less distance needed to get back to that high, 27, 28%. And daily time frame, we're just looking for a lower high on this bounce. It is up to the bulls to change the daily trend. If we fail to change daily trends, we are still absolutely in weekly consolidation mode, and we can absolutely drop to lower lows on this consolidation. So daily trend changes are a must. These lower highs are very clear. For those that like trend lines, we can draw downtrend resistance to be keeping an eye on. But bottom line is daily trend changes are needed. My GTBIF position is probably half the size of my TCNNF. And again, I did the same thing. So I bought under $12 On Monday, no, that was Friday, bought under $12 on Friday. I sold it yesterday in the 1250s, again, just locking in a 4 or 5% move to lower my cost basis and keeping these positions fairly small until I have bull confidence. And I can't have bull confidence while we're still in daily downtrends. CRLBF, monthly consolidation underway, has the largest distance to go to get back to the all-time high. As far as how much do we have to see to get back to the recent high, we need to go 32% or so. That's a long ways. Daily, to change the trend here, we need a convincing bull break of 611. And we're just trading sideways over the past couple of weeks, trying to establish a base of support in the mid $5 range. So again, you got to establish your game plan, and you have to establish that game plan for multiple different scenarios. What if the Republican Senate wins and Biden wins? What if a Democrat Senate wins and Trump wins? All these different combinations of what could happen, and we can easily determine what is the least favorable short-term scenario and what is the most favorable. And aside from that, a mixed bag would be if we were to see the Senate majority not match the party of the president, then it would be a little bit of a muddled reaction. But one day at a time as always. And that is where we stand from here. Can't go full-on bull mode. You know, I was market buying and selling very sizable positions in Canadian MJ when we were trading on the NYSE and the NASDAQ in that last major bull run into the first day of sales. I cannot go that aggressive on the OTC. Some people can. If they want more risk and reward, then absolutely. But I am in a scenario where goal number one is to preserve profits, not, go for the home run. So as long as we are traded on the OTC, I will be pumping the brakes a little bit in how I play this current setup and the current sector. So I hope you're all well out there. We'll check in a bit more frequently as we do start to get closer and closer towards the main event. Have a good rest of your day. Appreciate your attention. Like and subscribe and share and all that fun stuff. Rainy day grooming. We're peeking on the yellow flowers. Cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower planted a few weeks ago are definitely doing way better than in the spring in terms of their ability to outgrow the pests. Gonna plant some garlic. I guess we'll use the potato bed for garlic in a couple weeks. Big bean check-in. Got a butterfly chrysalis on a rotting sunflower stalk, but that leaf is going to fall fairly soon. Curious if this is supposed to hatch after the winter or what.